Drivers behind the wheel of 10-ton buses not paying attention.
The NBC4 I-Team tonight investigates the surge of low-cost bus companies offering cheap rides to tourist destinations, putting thousands of lives at risk. NBC4 investigative reporter Joel Grover spent 3 months, traveled thousands of miles to expose this growing danger. Joel.
Well, Chuck and Colleen, even if you never set foot on a bus, you're not out of harm's way. Consider this. There has been a record number of tour bus crashes this year on California highways where people were killed or injured. As the I-Team found, the booming low-cost bus industry is often cutting corners on safety and putting every one of us on the road in danger.
Yeah, he was tailgating.
Imagine yourself on the freeway, next to bus drivers whose eyes aren't on the road, next to bus drivers who are speeding,
77 miles an hour,
next to 10-ton buses that have lost control.
I think it's criminal.
Brenda Knight's uncle, Fred Richardson, was killed this last February.
My mother called me and she said, turn the news on.
What they saw on TV was this bus that had lost control on Highway 38 near Big Bear, killing 7 passengers and injuring 20, and colliding head-on with Fred Richardson's pickup.
We could see his truck, and it was completely smashed.
It was this and other crashes
yeah, he just cut that truck off
that prompted the I-Team to investigate. We followed 25 bus trips from 6 companies documenting drivers' behavior from on board the bus and from behind. What's he doing? With the help of retired cop Steve Chauncey, who for 20 years has taught and certified officers how to use radar and laser and catch lawbreakers.
Looks like he's got a cell phone in his hand.
The feds say distracted driving is the #1 cause of bus crashes, and we saw it often with drivers from a company called Fronteras del Norte. We see this Fronteras driver on a trip from San Diego to LA.
But he was just on his phone.
Talking on his cell phone 9 different times without a hands-free device. That's against federal law. When the driver spotted these 2 cop cars, he quickly puts down his phone. But once they've passed, he gets right back on the phone and then runs this red light.
And he just ran a red.
Another day, another Fronteras driver has his attention fixed on his phone from LA to Tijuana. Watch his eyes coming off the road again and again.
If a tire blows, he's not going to be able to control the bus with one hand.
I find it appalling.
Jackie Gillen, president of Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety, watched our video.
Distraction is serious, it is deadly, it is dangerous.
71 in a 55 zone.
And so is speeding, the second biggest cause of bus accidents. Just 6 weeks ago, the driver of this bus sped right into someone's front yard, injuring 8 people headed on a casino trip from Seal Beach.
78 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour over.
In our investigation, we followed 25 bus trips and caught 24 of them speeding.
61 miles per hour in a 50 curve.
Including the Dagen Bus Company, which runs busloads of the elderly to casinos. Like this run from the San Manuel Casino to San Gabriel.
93 miles an hour?
Yes.
Speed is a factor in about 1/3 of all crashes. So we know the dangers of speeding.
It was a Dagen bus just 3 months ago that cut off a car on the 210 freeway and rolled over, injuring 55 people.
This never should have happened.
And that brings us back to the fatal crash near Big Bear, involving this tour bus owned by Skapadas Mahicas, based near San Diego. Records we found show the ill-fated bus was cited by government inspectors twice in the year before the crash for bad brakes.
They knew that the brakes on the bus were not all right, and they literally sent the people that died to their deaths.
Skapadas couldn't explain its poor safety record because it's now out of business. A Dagen manager told us the company wouldn't talk. We followed 9 of your buses. All of them were speeding.
I'm sorry, I'm not authorized to speak to the media.
As for the owners of Fronteras del Norte, Maria and Joel Lopez,
they don't care about their job, their safety, and the public safety.
They were in tears watching our video.
What are you going to do about these drivers?
I think we're going to have to start terminating them.
Our family will never be the same.
As for family and friends of Fred Richardson, who was killed in the Skapatas crash,
Every time I see it, my heart just...
they built this bench near the crash site, a reminder of the risks we all take sharing the roads with 10-ton buses.
1940 to 2013 should have been longer.
Now, for 9 months, we have asked repeatedly to speak with the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, the person in charge of safety on our highways. We want to know why there are so many safety lapses with tour buses. And for 9 months, his people have not made him available.
At the top of the hour, we showed you this raid at a local tour bus company today. CHP investigators were out inspecting the buses, looking over hundreds of records out there.
Now, all of this was a direct result of the NBC4 I-Team work, and NBC4's Joel Grover's with us now. Now, Joel, I understand that authorities believe that there could be a danger to everyone on the road.
Absolutely, and we've been following new leads since our investigation began airing last month. And we've uncovered a new dangerous practice: tour bus drivers who are behind the wheel more hours than allowed by the government. It's a practice that in the past has had deadly consequences.
You get up at 4?
Yeah. This tour bus driver has just worked a very long day. He started just after 5 a.m. and didn't end till 21 hours later. What's it like driving a big bus that many hours?
Disgusting.
Listen to this veteran driver who worked for 2 other bus companies.
I did fall asleep at the wheel with the cruise control on a couple of times
You actually fell asleep at the wheel.
and almost hit a couple of vehicles.
The consequences can be fatal, like this crash last December in Oregon, this one the year before in Virginia, and this accident 2 months before that in New York. Federal investigations blamed all those crashes, at least in part, on driver fatigue. That's why regulations forbid drivers from working more than 15 hours a day, 10 of those behind the wheel.
A driver that becomes fatigued, it affects their motor skills, their ability to safely operate the motor vehicle.
That was the concern of a former driver who contacted us who worked for Double High Express, which runs 16 buses from the LA area to casinos. So we watched Double High buses starting at 5 a.m., pulling out of their yard in Pomona. We decide to follow this bus with the driver in the white coat. By 7 a.m., he's picking up passengers in San Gabriel and takes off for a 120-mile trip across the desert,
Go ahead and just wait for me outside.
arriving at the Spotlight 29 casino in Coachella around 9:15. 4 hours later, he's driving back to L.A.
Spotlight 29, okay.
But by 4:15, he's picking up a second load, now driving through rush hour traffic for 3 hours back to the casino. At 11:30, he's on the road again, returning to L.A. So far, he's been on the job for 18 hours.
It's similar to being a drunk driver, that your judgment is impaired at that point.
His shift doesn't end until after 2 a.m. when he returns his bus to the yard. That means he was working over 21 hours, 13 of them behind the wheel. More than is allowed by regulations. Remember this driver who had to work those long shifts for other companies?
What if you refuse to work the hours they give you?
It's either play the game or be out of a job.
The driver of that bus that crashed in Virginia, killing 4, told investigators he was too tired to drive and fell asleep at the wheel, causing his bus to flip over.
So you have to go like 2 times in the morning and then at nighttime?
Yeah. In fact, 4 Double High drivers told us they worked those long double shifts, like this man, who we witnessed driving from early morning all day long until 2 a.m.
Double High Express?
How would Double High explain having its drivers work those dangerously long hours?
I'm Joel Grover with Channel 4.
We tried to talk to the manager, Jack. He pushed us right out the door.
Could we talk to you about your drivers?
I'm not the owner. You cannot be
Okay.
here.
So we sat down with the CHP's chief investigator for motor carrier safety in LA County.
Can I show you these documents?
We showed him documents that a former Double High driver told us were logs of his hours. He says the company had him keep 2 sets of logs, one showing his hours for the AM shift and another for the evening or PM shift.
Is it illegal to keep 2 sets of logs like this?
Yes.
That driver says the company told him if he was stopped by the CHP, he should show them only one set of logs to hide the fact he'd worked a double shift.
It's very concerning that we see that there are two separate documents and the potential that they would hide a document from us. It's almost like a cat and mouse game at times.
Now, in the coming days, the CHP will examine evidence from today's raid, and the state will decide what, if any, action it will take against Double High.
The Fed shut down 52 bus companies deemed too dangerous to be on the road next to any driver, especially you. The action comes a month after an NBC4 I-Team investigation first showed you bus drivers speeding, running red lights, using cell phones behind the wheel. In one case, Joel, weren't they even texting? Joel Grover's been working on this investigation for months. He is in the newsroom right now with this latest development. Joel.
Well, Colleen, dangerous buses pose a threat not only to the passengers, but to all drivers on the roads. For months, we've been asking the feds what they're doing to keep unsafe buses off the roads in our state. Last spring, they launched a special strike force, but it was only after our report that this crackdown finally moved into California. Every day across the LA area, dozens of tour buses pick up passengers bound for casinos and other destinations. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is now cracking down on companies it says are unsafe. Administrator Ann Farrow.
But they're companies that clearly put profits before passenger safety.
It was after this fatal crash near Big Bear in February that the feds launched a strike force. For years, the feds had cited the company involved in the crash for safety violations, but allowed it to keep operating. Now that's changing.
And we want to get the worst of the worst off the road and make sure that the other companies operating recognize that we're serious.
In April, the strike force began shutting down unsafe bus companies, but most were on the East Coast, only 8 west of the Mississippi and none in California, until after we aired this investigation exposing dangerous driving and mechanical problems by LA area companies. 2 weeks after our report, the Motor Carrier Safety Administration shut down Salcedo Tours of LA. Manager Carlos Martinez told us his company has had no problems with its buses or drivers. But records show the feds give Salcedo Tours some of the worst safety scores in the business. So why haven't the feds gone after more low-scoring companies in California, like the kind in our investigation? Listen to what Administrator Farrow said today to NBC News in Washington.
I haven't seen that video.
In fact, we emailed Farrow's office the link to our video the day after it aired a month ago and asked them to discuss it.
To the extent your cameramen want to share that video with us, we would be pleased to work with our state partners to be sure they've seen it and they're pursuing appropriate action.
And tonight, federal investigators intensify a crackdown on unsafe buses in California, making roads safer. They are shutting down more bus companies, they say, were putting the public in danger.
For 2 months now, the NBC4 I-Team has been asking regulators why they're not doing more to take all of these unsafe buses off California highways. Now the answer. Joel Grover is live for us. He's out on Interstate 10 near Palm Springs. That's a major route for tour and casino buses every day. Joel?
Well, Chuck, we've obtained this order just released by the feds that basically puts 5 unsafe bus companies out of business. We're told this action is in response to our NBC4 investigation that began airing 7 weeks ago. It's an action officials hope will prevent more crashes on bus-filled highways like this one. This bus yard in East LA was the home of a company called It's Good Promotion that ran buses from LA to Mexico. Records show that this month, investigators found the company was using drivers that didn't have valid licenses, and the company had failed to make sure its buses were properly maintained. But investigators from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration uncovered something even bigger here. They found the It's Good Promotion bus company had illegally allowed 4 other unsafe bus companies, which had all been shut down by the government, to keep operating by using their federal registration number. One of those companies, Holy Spirit Tours, operated 14 buses out of this depot on Valley Boulevard. Holy Spirit was shut down a year ago after investigators found safety issues with its drivers. And there were at least 2 Phoenix-based bus companies put out of service by the government, also using the It's Good Promotion registration number to keep operating. The government has now ordered them all to stop doing business. Officials say closer scrutiny of California bus companies is a result, at least partly, of problems the I-Team uncovered in recent months, including drivers speeding and using handheld cell phones. The American Bus Association says this latest crackdown is a good start.
We want to see those efforts continue. It can't be a one-shot deal. It can't be inconsistent enforcement.